back to Half A Hot Rods. If you haven't been here before, my name is Adam, and I'm just a regular guy. I don't have all the right tools. I don't have a big budget. I don't have a bunch of skills or training on how to do this stuff, but I'm here to show you that you don't need all that stuff in order to have a good time with old cars and trucks, like this 57 Chevy. I've been working on it for almost 2 years now, just in my spare time like anybody else, and she's got a really saggy rear end. We're going to cure that this week. Come on along. So the 57 Chevy truck is on a 97 Chevy chassis, and it's a 3/4 ton chassis. I put the dually rear end under it, but this bed weighs, I'm guessing, between 2,000 and 2,500 pounds, which is a ton and a quarter, just empty by itself. And we still want to do truck things, including moving hay bales with this spear that's going to latch onto the gooseneck ball. So we need a little more load carrying capacity, and I've used airbags on this truck and on at least 2 before that. I love them. They're awesome, just a little extra load carrying capacity. But you know, the budget's tight on this truck, and we're getting ready to sell the white truck, and nobody gives you any extra money for stuff like that. So the best place to get free parts is off another truck when nobody's looking. So nobody's looking today. We're going to pull the airbags and the little onboard compressor off this white truck, and then we're going to put them on the much cooler 5797 3100 half-ton, 1-ton dually flatbed custom service bed hay mover thing. Here we go. So the only bad thing about doing the work we're doing today is I'm pretty sure last time I worked on the 57, I left my little magnetic light under it, and it's probably dead. So I'll have to use some of my old ones. They're still pretty good, but they're not like that. So yeah, we'll suffer through. There is a little gauge deal in here. See it down there. See it down there below the steering wheel. That's going to raise and lower pressures. And then the compressor and the bags are both mounted underneath. So we'll get started probably underneath. We'll have to get under the hood to, I think, get the hose that runs to that gauge and the wiring that runs to that gauge. But other than that, everything else will be under the truck. So we'll start under the truck at the bags, and then we'll work our way forward to the compressor, and then we'll follow the lines and the wiring from there to remember where everything was. Are you ready, Hubcap? You ready? Ready to do some work? Yeah, I like work. No, you don't. You don't work. You ain't got no job.
You ain't got no job.
That should give us a little better access. And I think we're just going to need a handful of wrenches to get the bags loose. Let's have a look. Do you mind? So we just really need to get, there's a bolt like that on either side, and then there's a nut and bolt up at the top. It's going to be hard to see up here where the stock bump stop went. And yeah, that's really it on both sides. And then we'll just follow the air lines, which this is the one going to the other side. Same setup over there, a little T in, and then we'll follow it up. The compressor is further up front, so we'll work on this and get the bags out first. I'm going to go let the air out in the cab. So I kind of thought yesterday when we were driving this truck that it sounded a little funny, like something was off with the exhaust, and I think I just figured it out. It appears that half of my muffler deleted itself. I have just a small gap in the pipe that's created a tiny leak. Huh. Guess we'll have to fix that too. Hey dude, can you not find anywhere else to play than on my legs? Okay, that wasn't a suggestion. Can you go play somewhere else that's not on my legs? Okay, we're back from the break. I got the bags fished out of there, just kind of squeezed and twisted them until they come out of there. Sometimes you have to jack up on the bumper or the hitch to unload the suspension, create a little more room. So we got that done and just cut zip ties and pulled the lines down, unbolted. That's the little compressor motor. That's the dog. Hey dog, get out of the way. And laid that down and cut zip ties till we got to the front where it comes up through the engine bay. So we're about to pop the hood and see where that goes and what it takes to get it in here. I did this install, but I did it 4 or 5 years ago, so I don't remember exactly how I did it. Poor old girl needs a detail. I think, yeah, right there and right there. So I think we just got to figure out how that hooks to the back of the gauge and the switches, and then we can probably disconnect or cut one wire and the air hose and pull them backwards and then pull the gauge out the front or the inside the cab. I did a good job with the zip ties again. Okay, let me grab my cutters. Can you just tie into here? Man, yeah, I mean, I zip tied, and that's, I didn't do that either. Well, no, that's a fuse, not a guillotine connector. It looks like I had extra wire, so rather than cut it, I just coiled it up, which probably isn't the right way to do it, but you never know when you're going to be moving these things. Better to have too much wire than not enough, right? And this had a pressure switch built in to make sure it stayed above a certain pressure, and it failed and I just bypassed it. So that's what this cobbled together tape is. Yeah, I don't know why I did that. I don't like that. We won't do it that way on the next one.
Oh, that little guy. I wouldn't worry about that little guy.
So that'll be our power supply. What else we got here? Oh, that's the switched power to the motor. And then I'll bet this one with the fuse in it goes up to the fuse block. And I probably just jam the wire in if I know me, which is not the right way to do it. Yep, I sure did. But it worked. Okay, hose is out. Wire's out. So we should be able to pull those back down through the bottom. That's a good boy hanging around. Good boy. And this gauge and control button should just be couple of screws or something. I may have to remove the gauge to get to it. So we'll figure that out and get it out of there. I'll get right back with you. Oh, there's the switch that failed that I removed or bypassed. Alright, we got her all fished out of there. The gauge was only held in with a couple of Phillips head screws, but because I was trying to keep it nice and tight in there, I had to take the brake controller down in order to get to the one screw, but it did look nice. Anyway, we got that out, got the gauge package out. So this is basically how it'll get set up on this truck. This motor will get mounted in one of the toolboxes. I keep saying motor, it's an electric motor compressor. It's an air compressor, just a little bitty one. And then we'll hook the T back up, and one end will go to the bags, and it'll tee off back there on that bag. Some people will argue that you shouldn't do that because then when the truck wants to tip one way, it'll allow it to push the air to one side or the other. That makes sense, and I suppose it's possible, but with the loads I'm hauling, I've never had a problem with it. So maybe if you're just lighter weight stuff like me, it's fine. I'm not worried about it is what I'm saying. The shocks will help dampen that some too. So we'll go back to the bags. It'll tee off, air up both bags. The other line that comes off this tee, that comes off here, and this wire are going to go up to the cab. And of course they'll connect to power, and then they'll connect to the gauge. And then this little deal is a momentary switch that powers this up and makes it pump air until you get it to the desired pressure. And then this is just a valve to release it. So, pretty simple, basic setup. Like I said, I could wire this switch back in. They say you don't want to run them lower than 7 psi, and that's what this switch does, is if it senses 7 psi or less, it kicks the compressor on. But mine was keeping the compressor from coming on at all, even with the switch. So I bypassed it, which is more than likely what I'll do in this truck. It's not going to get used that often, and I'm capable of checking the gauges every time I get in it. So next time you see us with these airbags, we're going to be getting under the 57. I'm not going to do that right this second because I got other stuff I got to wrap up, and I don't want to have the front and the back both up at the same time because then all my blocks are tied up, blah, 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 lots of stuff and things. But I gotta get to work on another little side project here that I didn't really need. I'll be back soon. Alright, we're back on the stolen airbag swap. Getting these that I took off my 01 Silverado, and we're going to put them on this 97 chassis. What I just thought of is this upper mount, I think, goes where the bump stop goes. We may have to pull those off, and then we should be good to go to bolt these up and get it all, start going back together. As I go along here, I already did it on that one, the crossover line, but at the end of these lines where I'm going to reinsert one that I took apart, I'm just going to trim a little bit off the end so we got a nice clean cut. Boy, that one looks terrible. I think I cut that with wire cutters. But anyway, that's what we're going to do. Anytime we got to reinsert one, we're going to cut it nice and clean with a fresh, sharp X-Acto knife. So we just did that over here on the crossover one. We're going to get under there and see what we're dealing with as far as if the bump stops are still in the way, which I'm sure they are. Might even be sitting on them. I don't know. Let's take a look. We are not quite sitting on the bump stops, but we are not super far away either. We're probably going to have to jack the bed up and the chassis in order to get the bags in there, but we can do that. Alright, let's get both of them out of the way before we get started on trying to put stuff in here. Luckily they're just bolted in. Yeah, we'll take that out on both sides, and then hopefully there's a place. Hopefully I don't have to drill that frame, but I'm kind of thinking I might have to. is this. Yeah, those holes aren't as far apart as the bump stop. These holes are like right here, and that's not going to match up. So we're probably going to have to drill the frame from underneath. That's lots of fun. So let's get the bump stops off. We'll go from there. Yep, we're going to have to get that back end up. We ain't got anywhere near enough room to squeeze that bad boy in there. But the inner holes look like they'll match up, so that's cool. Does Fort Worth ever cross your mind?
I'm sorry, George.
Does it have cap? Does Fort Worth ever cross your mind?
Please stop it. Please stop it.
Ow! Careful how far you push that when your fingers are in there. Don't put your fingers anywhere you wouldn't put your... Alright, both bags are officially in. Now we just got to connect lines. We got the bags connected together because I'd already pre-trimmed that one, so I just shoved it in there. Now we got to connect the first bag to the pump, which is this fella. Mount the pump and then run the other lines up to the cab for the gauge. So we're going to put the pump over here because it's a little farther away from me and it's kind of noisy. So we're going to mount it in there, and it's, again, for now we're going to mount it in there. Down the road that may change, but for right now I think that's the best place for it. And or maybe we'll mount it on the other side because then it's right down the frame rail to the, it'll be just like we did on the other truck. That's probably the smarter move because we need to leave room in here for an air tank for train horns, because you gotta have train horns, right? Okay, so let's get to mounting this pump or compressor, whatever you want to call it, and get it connected over there and get it mounted in that box, and then we can plumb it all the way to the front of the truck. Yeah, because there'll just be gas fumes in here, so that's a good place for electricity. Okay, so I've got this tees off at the compressor, and then one line runs to the front to the gauge. I'm going to assume that's the one I had this wire taped to, because that makes sense. You wonder why I can't remember. It's like 2 weeks later after I initially pulled these off, so we're just trusting that I've done this a couple of times. Actually, I've only done one with this compressor one time, so it is what it is. But you can just pick a spot in here, drill some holes and mount that bad boy, and then we can connect our hoses to the compressor, and one will go to the front and one will go to the bags, and we'll be in good shape, in theory. might be a good time to trim these down. I might regret it later, but there's so much extra here, and I don't know. We'll see how hard it is to tie it up underneath after. I could definitely just run some self-tappers through this. That's what I did last time. I just don't know if they're going to like this thick sheet metal as much as they like the stuff that was, you know, the body of the 2001 truck. It was not nearly as beefy as this. Okay. So we want that to pretty much sit right there. And I guess everything's kind of disconnected. It doesn't matter what goes where because they're all just teed together. So we got to run power to the front. I'm going to do that up under there along the frame rail. So we'll just tuck that back, get to it from underneath. We'll ground this compressor here in the box. I just did it with a mounting screw last time. I think that's adequate. And yeah, we'll mount this guy. Where's our T at? I really feel like I could have done this better under that other truck. Now we'll go down underneath, trim that one, plug it into that airbag. Alright, the bags are connected to the compressor. I've got one line kind of run, well, right to there underneath the truck. Just looking for a place to run it through into the cab so we can connect it to that gauge. But I don't know exactly where that gauge is going to hang yet either. So we might just run it up through a gap, which I think that's a gap all the way down, and just kind of let her hang like the rest of this stuff till we get it figured out. But I'd like to run it through the engine bay because there's going to be it's going to need to go through the engine bay because I need to connect a power source. So let's see if we can find that hole that's down in there and see if it's inside or outside. I think it might be between the inner and outer fenders. Oh no, I see it there. You guys see it? Right here? Now whether I can get my hand down in there to pass anything through there, that's a whole other story. Let's see what we can do here. Or there's another hole there too. Right there. Yeah, either one of them. That one down there would work nicely. It'd be neater. I just don't know if I can get to it. Let me grab a light and we'll fight with that. $1 million question is, can I get it up through there? And then can I pass it through? Oh, that's not bad access. As long as I can get it that high. Alright, so we kind of fished it up. Through the bottom there, and I can't see it from here. You're just going to have to trust me. It came up through the body mount, up about halfway up, and then we tucked it through a little pre-existing hole in the firewall. We'll have to get a grommet on it, and it goes through into the cab. I ran it under the truck, through the emergency brake cable, holder thingies for right now because they're not holding an emergency brake cable. And then here we are in the cab. All right, I was talking to you, and apparently you weren't listening because the camera wasn't on, but we figured out the way it was wired before. It's just kind of stuck together right now. Works with the key on. So I got it aired up to the point where the block fell out. So now we're going to get under there. We know it's under pressure because it's got like 60 psi in the bags and the weight of the bed on it. So I'm going to roll around under there with some Windex, or Walmart brand, great value Windex, and see if there's any leaks. And if there's not, then we'll have to go back through with zip ties and trim and straighten everything up. All right, so great value Windex says we don't have any leaks. We're going to go around and do a bunch of zip tying and then straightening things up and get the truck on the ground. I'll be back. That's way better. Got a little rake. That's the way that truck should look. We're right at 50 psi. Pretty sure he just licked my phone. Well, I guess you guys weren't paying attention because I didn't turn the camera on, so you couldn't pay attention. But we've got the gauge mounted up inside, just temporary location for now. So it's mounted up, it's holding there. It's actually, we've got about 5 inches of height change on this, which is good. Because this thing had a serious squat to it. Yeah, you can see we're already putting it to work. Let's fire this thing up and show you the range of motion. First we'll let all the pressure out, show you where it was. Yeah, it's got that, what do they call that? The Carolina squat. Looks like a dog dragging his butt on the rug. I don't like it. Now we'll fire it up and we'll bring it all the way up to, I don't know, 70 psi. Show you what it looks like at high pressure. That's what 70 psi looks like. Got a little rake on it now with 70 in it, but it doesn't ride bad. So that means it's ready to do some work, almost. It's ready to do work in the yard, maybe not legally on the road. So it's starting to look like a whole truck now, and I'm thinking, man, we got to get this thing on the road. So I made myself a new list of priorities. I'll show you guys that now, and this will be what we're working through in the near future to get this thing actually road legal so I can drive it to work, since I only have a 4-mile commute now. Let's see what we got. Alright, we gotta hook up the fans. I've already got them. I need fan relays and control to do that though. We need gauges. I took the OBS ones out. It's time to pull the trigger on something to monitor the engine's health better than what I was doing. We need to wire lights, do the in-cab wiring, just kind of tie it up, find homes for everything. Finish the filler neck. You guys will probably see that in a very near video. Do the rear fenders. I'll show you that in a new video pretty soon. We're going to cut the bed. That'll be a separate video. Front bumper, rear bumper. Not sure how those are going to go yet. Rear lights. Probably have some temporary ones until we decide what we're doing to cut the bed. And mirrors. We need mirrors to get this thing in and out of the shop safely because it is wide. Tint. What do you think? Should we tint the windows? Black? Real dark? Maybe a gold or a yellow? Needs some exhaust. So in order to accomplish all that, I need to buy fan relays and controls, some gauges, some headlights, some signal lenses, probably the whole signal, mirrors. Yeah, I thought when I was wiping the list off there, I only had a couple things left on my old list. So now we got a new list and a whole bunch more work to do. But look at this. This makes me happy and motivates me to do it. You ready? That truck's outside the shop, under its own power, with a bed on it. It's doing truck things already. We're hauling junk away for the boss up there. I'm pretty excited. So, as always, we appreciate you watching. If you want to see the other videos on how we got this truck to where it's at, how we got the 97 stuff to work with the 57 stuff, if you want to see some of the plans for the Bel Air over there, some of the square body stuff that you've undoubtedly seen in the background of some of these videos, or the Omega, we have videos on all those. Check some of those out. If you like what we're doing, give us a thumbs up, like, subscribe, comment. If you don't like what we're doing, tell me what I'm doing wrong. I'm learning every day doing this stuff. Now, if you do like what we're doing, we'd sure like to hear from you too. At any rate, until next time, remember, if I can do it, you can do it. Thanks for watching.